Some of you may be wanting to try Excel to do these problems, and that's good. We're not going to concentrate on doing the calculations as much as we are the ideas, but it's nice to have another tool to help you with this stuff. When you're setting up a table to find your deviation scores, these are the deviation scores right here because they tell us how much each x deviates from the mean. So first we've got to find the mean. The formula for that is the sum of x divided by n. So you add up all the x's and divide by how many x's you have. In this case, there are 10. Now, if you look here in Excel, what I did was I put that formula in this cell to get the mean. Excel doesn't call it the mean, it just calls it the average. You always have to be sure you put that equal sign in first, type out average, and then in parentheses, you put the first parentheses here, then highlight all of these numbers, close the parentheses, and hit enter. When you do, you'll get the mean, that right there. So now we have the mean. We want to subtract it from each one of our x's. A good way to do that, again, is to use a formula. In this first row, what you do is you put equals C3, so you write equals and then you tap this. That's C3. You've got equals C3 minus, and what you want to do is subtract the mean, this down here. So you put minus and then tap that, and it will give you the formula equals C3 minus C16. Well, yeah, but what are these dollar signs doing in there? That makes this cell stay the same no matter where I copy this formula. So if I put a dollar sign before the column C and a dollar sign before the row 16, then this will always be this cell. Now when I get that in here, all I have to do, well, watch, I'll just show you something. If I take my numbers here and delete them, now I have this first cell done. I put the cursor until I get the little black X and then pull it down. I didn't pull far enough maybe. Let me try again. Pull that down. There we go. Now I've got the cells. Each one of them is listing how much this score deviates from the mean. 16 minus the mean leaves -2, etc., all the way down. Now I also, in this bottom row, I put equals sum, open parentheses, highlight this entire column, and then close the parentheses. The reason I do that is to double check, oops, sorry. I wanted to double check that this column adds to 0. If it does, good, we're in business. If it doesn't, we've made a mistake somewhere. Why does this have to add up to 0? Well, because the mean is the balancing point. That means there should be an equal number of numbers, number intervals away from it. Each collection on the positive side should equal the collection on the negative side. And it does. We have all these negative numbers and we have some positive numbers. When you add them all up, they should cancel out and leave you right back at the mean, in this case 0. Now we're going to square each one of these. What we do, take your formula, put equals, and then hit your first cell, the one you want to start with, equals that cell, D3, and then above the number 6 on the top of the keyboard is the caret sign. That's the exponent sign. So exponent 2, that means square it. And same thing, if I let's pull this down here. If I delete all of these, Now that I've got my formula in this cell, I can just drag it down and it will fill these with the exact numbers. The square of minus 11 is 121, the square of 1 is 1, etc. This cell is the sum of the squares. These are the square deviations. We want to sum them up, and this is the sum of the squares. Now that term might not mean a lot to you right now, but we're going to use it a whole lot in the future, so keep in mind what it is. It's the sum of the squared deviations. We got 728. Now, why did we do all this? Well, because we're trying to find the variance and the standard deviation of this data set. In order to do that, we set these three columns up, do these calculations, get our sum of squares, and then to find the variance, we divide the sum of squares by the number of scores that we used. In this case, again, it's 10. So we've got the standard deviation squared, which is the variance, is equal to E14 divided by 10. This is E14. So this divided by the number of data points that we're using is 72.8, and that's our variance. The standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So to get this number, I typed in equals SQRT. That's how Excel spells square root. And then in parentheses, I highlighted C31. Oops. C31, this cell right here. And so now we have the variance and the standard deviation. This stuff in here, I just wrote down the steps to try to help you because I want you to download the file below this video and try this yourself. Find the mean, variance, and standard deviation for these data here and use the formulas. Try them out. You can always go back after you download the file. You can go back and look at the formulas I put in, see exactly how I did it, find out what you want to do to get your solution for this data set. Good luck and have fun. I'm sure you'll enjoy yourselves.